Alright, in this section here we're going to be talking about polynomials and rational inequalities, and we're going to be finding the solution sets to these inequalities. And so, of course, let's get started. We have x squared plus x minus 20 is less than 0. Okay? So remember that this whole thing right here represents the second coordinate of an ordered pair. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and factor this thing. And so this factors to x minus 4 and x plus 5. We set each one of these factors. I'm just going to set them equal to 0 here. So we have x is equal to 4, and x plus 5, and x is equal to negative 5. Then what we're going to do is draw a number line, and we're going to plot 4 and negative 5 on the number line. So here's negative 5, and here is 4. And what we're going to do is pick I call these test points. We're going to pick a test point like 0, and we're going to come over here and plug it in and see if it's true. If I plug 0 in, you get negative 4. Plug 0 in, you get 5. And negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. So if 0 makes this true, it's a negative 20, a negative number, and it says it must be less than 0. Well, negative 20 is less than 0. So if this is true, okay, then that means that all of these numbers in between negative 5 and 4, if we were to plug those in up here, this would also be true. If you were to plug a number larger than 4 in, like for example 5 squared is 25, and 25 plus 5 is 30, and 30 minus 20 is 10, and 10 is not less than 0. Okay? So the solution set to this up here is going to be between negative 5 and 4. Now you notice I use parentheses here, okay, because this is not including the equal sign. This is just strictly less than, not including the equal here. So we cannot include negative 5 into this. If I did, you plug negative 5 in, we'd end up getting 0 here, and 0 times a number is 0, and 0 is not less than 0. See? Alright. Now, one way also to look at this is look at the graph. This is something we didn't talk about in the previous sections, but that is graphing this. And I think I'm going to graph this so we can get a better idea maybe of what we're talking about here. And so let's go ahead and graph that. Okay, so we're going to use Google's graphing utility. If you take this and type that into the Google address bar in a Chrome web browser, you will get this graph to come up. Now let's look at this. Here's negative 5, and here is 4. And remember, it's all the y values. I said the second coordinates that's less than 0, so that would be this graph, you see, that's below the x-axis, this part of the graph that's below the x-axis. So that's what we're looking at. This right here, okay, is my second coordinate, right? My first coordinate, second coordinate. So these numbers here, if you look at them, they're all below, they're all less than 0. So this is an easy way of looking at this. Now, if I were to zoom out, okay, you see that everything to the left of negative 5, okay, would be greater than 0, and everything to the right of 4 would be greater than 0. So if we were to flip this inequality around and make that greater than 0, then we would be looking at all of these x values. That would go from negative infinity up to negative 5, and then from 4 to infinity. So looking at the graph is a better way, I guess, of understanding this. And I'm going to throw this in because I didn't do this. But, you know, in the previous sections, we were finding the solutions quadratic equations. And we were looking at where the graph crosses the x-axis. That's where y is 0. So you see where y is 0. Okay. Anyway, all right.